And hello, everyone, and welcome back to the final Q&A of the Task Management and Time Blocking Virtual Conference. And in this session, we'll have Julie Bestry. She'll be facilitated for Olga Colmenares and Jim McCullen. And it looks like Jim is here. And so Jim is here and Olga is here and we're all together. So let me promote Julie up to the stage. Olga as well. And Jim McCullen.
Hello, everyone.
Here we go. And I'll step away and hand over to you, Julie. Welcome, folks.
Hi, can everybody? Oh. Okay, we've got it going. Okay, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to see Olga and Jim. This is our last Q&A before the closing ceremonies at 6 o'clock. We've got an interesting session ahead of us, and if possible, if you can put any of your questions in the Q&A, I will try and monitor chat and Q&A as we go along. I'm Julie Bestry. I'm your moderator for today's final Q&A with our two presenters who at the start seem to be starkly different in their approach and their interests. So our challenge today is going to see what they think and believe in common and where they diverge. First, a little bit about me. I'm a certified professional organizer. My company is Best Results Organizing in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and I help overwhelmed individuals save time and money, reduce stress, and increase their productivity through organizing skills and systems. And I live completely in the Apple and iOS environment, and I use a paper planner with digital support for deep work. Since we're at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you my task management and time blocking summit secret identity is that I lived in the same dorm at college with Francis 35 years ago, but we didn't figure it out and really meet one another until a little over a year ago because we know so many people in common in the productivity industry. So I'm going to start by introducing both of you. Olga Colmenares Moret is a productivity coach interested in achieving happiness instead of just goals. She is a multi-potentialite. She is a computer engineer. She has a master's degree in ancient philosophy. She writes fiction, and she's a content creator. After more than 15 years working in the tech industry, Olga realized that her uncommon combination of talents could help others, particularly others like Olga, achieve their goals. And after more than 3 years of working in her coaching practice, she realized that she wanted to help others realize that happiness is the goal. And moreover, happiness is not, as she says, not a North Star, but a daily objective. And Olga shares, and I love that she shares her vulnerability in this regard, that she had a mental health crisis that changed her life entirely, one that turned her to recognizing new reasons to live every day. And she says that what you produce should provide those reasons for living every day, not only as a professional, but as a human being. And I think given everything that we've been discussing about being more productive, we have to remember that we are still people and not just little robots making everything happen. Olga also worked for Expedia for almost 6 years as a technical product manager and a scrum master. And she was so in love with her work because it allowed her to work with a team and, as she says, and take care of it. It's very nurturing. She started to participate more and more in diversity and inclusion and mental health initiatives globally. And she discovered that her passion was for making others' dreams and projects a reality by combining psychology, technology, engineering, philosophy, and literature. That's a lot to go into sort of one basket for what you bring to the world. So that's where that multi-potentialite title comes in. And now she has her company, and she promised not to laugh at me, Mujer Cronopio, through which she shares her experience and spreads a compassionate productivity message. Her presentation at this summit is called I'm Happily Productive. Are You? Productivity for Multi-Potentialites. Jim McCullen leads a global IT team responsible for the development of supply chain systems for some of the world's largest retailers, manufacturers, and distributors. He considers himself a productivity hacker, always looking for ways to reduce the effort it takes to be organized and to get things done. And in that regard, he's an avid follower of David Allen's Getting Things Done. He designed a system called Control Your Day that he's going to be talking about that allows Microsoft users to apply GTD practices to manage their email, their task list, and delegate work all from one virtual search folder in Outlook. And Jim, I'm going to ask you to mute just for a second because I think I'm echoing there. So Jim's book and his video course, Control Your Day, is highly ranked on Amazon and Udemy. And his summit presentation is Control Your Day, Smart Strategies for Success. And it introduces his Control Your Day approach and talks about some of the other tools and practices, best practices he uses to stay focused and keeps his vision and achieve that 10 out of 10 day as often as possible. And we're going to be talking about that metric, that 10 out of 10. So when Francis assigned both of you to me, I noticed that there was sort of a panorama going on here. Olga is a Renaissance woman with one foot in science and technology and the other in philosophy and the written arts. Jim works in operational systems to get businesses what they need. Olga's big on diversity and inclusion and happiness, and while I'm sure Jim is too, he talks about organization and efficiency. Okay, everybody who's still on this afternoon, tell me, doesn't that sound like they're the lead characters in a quirky detective show that's going to be premiering on the USA Network this summer? So one of the opportunities that these Q&A sessions have given us is the opportunity to give attendees now and holders of the All Access Pass coming up in the future a sneak peek into what your sessions are all about. So before we're going to dig in too deeply, I'd like you each to summarize sort of the 10,000 foot view, the main highlights from your presentations. Basically think of this as a trailer for the movie of your presentation. What do the viewers need to know about what they'll get out of your sessions? And so Jim, let's start with you.
Hold on. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Excellent. Great. Yeah, no, thanks for the intro. And yeah, I'm definitely pretty structured and productivity focused. In my presentation, I talk about David Allen's book, Getting Things Done, and how important that was to me, you know, really kind of as a way years ago to put a system around this process. Like I always had processes before that of organizing things. I went all the way back before technology. So I used to keep index cards in a folder, and each project was an index card, and you know I would manage it that way. And so yeah, as I get into to my session, I talk about getting things done, and then my book and system, Control Your Day, which is just a different way of using Microsoft Outlook. Most people in Microsoft Outlook tend to have lots of folders and they're moving messages all over the place. In my Control Your Day method, it all just lives in your inbox and your sent items, that's it. And then I use categories and virtual search folders and rules and different things like that to organize the messages. And I organize them all by due date instead of received or sent date so that I can drive when that message is important to me. And the big time saver for me there was really not having to manage separate to-do or task lists. So, you know, that's where it really kind of started with me was, you know, I'd have these to-do and task lists, but then I'd have all this email coming at me and the two would never stay in sync. You know, you'd put something in a to-do list or a task list and 5 minutes later you get another email message and that's out of sync, right? And so for me, and I work for a global company, so there's people working in our company 24/7 basically. So I get up in the morning, I've got a whole bunch of new email messages from people that were working overnight in China or Europe or wherever. And so, you know, trying to manage that with a to-do list just didn't work. And so bringing David Allen's concepts into Outlook, but only having it all in one place. So, you know, pushing all of my tasks into emails and managing in that way has worked really, really well for me. And then in the session, I also talk about a book I found last year called I can't think of it right now. Just who am I? It'll come back to me one second. A book by Rory Prendergast, and it was basically
Game Change Formula.
Thank you.
I watched.
You ever have those moments where you just lose
I watched your session.
Thank you. The game changer formula, and what he talks about, and David Allen talks about those things too. But the importance of setting your vision and working towards a vision, but then bringing things together from a mental perspective, a physical perspective, and a work perspective, right? Like you can be task oriented and get all these things done, but if you're not looking after your health, if you're not looking after your mental well-being, then it all kind of falls apart. And so he brings that all together and helps you create a daily journal that you read each morning that kind of has these affirmations that helps you start your day. And I read it every day and it's amazing. And then the idea of a physical journal where you can kind of write down, like, here's what I want to do this week. Here's what I want to do today. So I have all this tech, right? And that's kind of managing all the noise, all the work that I have out there. But then I bring it into this journal that kind of really becomes real for me. And I can go back and look at that journal, and I have it back over a year already, and see what I was thinking last year about this. And a lot of times, you might be stressing out about something and realizing 6 months later, why was I stressing out about that? That wasn't even a big deal. And so being able to go back to your journal and see that, I think, is really valuable. So yeah, I just talk about those concepts, and then I talk a little bit about Microsoft OneNote as well, and how that can be a reference tool that you can move data into. So yeah.
Thank you, Jim. And Olga, and we're going to be coming back to all four of your points, and particularly a question about journaling down the road. But Olga, if you'll share your little trailer.
Yeah. First of all, can I hire you to present me in other summits and other things, because you did wonderful there. I really enjoy it. Okay, so the deal with me and this presentation is that productivity hacks for me worked only a few weeks, and it was systematic, right? So for me, the approach had to change, and that's why I was looking for another area of expertise that gave me more keys to develop another productivity system. Then I discovered that I was a multipotential. I didn't know that I was someone that is never going to have that passion, the whole life, and I'm going to change. Change is my constant. And then I discovered neuroscience. And then I said, okay, this is it. Because, okay, productivity hacks, okay, but we need to trick our brains. That's the deal, right? So the productivity hacks works with our brain and to organize things. And, it's more about get rid of the friction so you can work. And by doing that work, being happy. Why happiness? That is cheesy. No, it's not that cheesy, because if you think about it, you can work 50 weeks in a year to have 2 weeks of vacation. What if you don't think about only the vacation, but you think about what you do every day? So that's why things like journaling that Jim is telling us that change the game is because of that. It's because you get in touch with yourself and you get in touch with your narrative. And if you change your narrative, then you can change the way you do things. And then you can realize what is important to you, because it's fundamental that you choose what to do in your day. If you own your time, own your energy, and own your attention, then the productivity system is gonna kick off, and it's gonna do wonders for you. So that's my presentation. It's like, go a step back and think about, what the hell are you doing with your life? Like, are you having pleasure, from food, sex, sports, physical activity, whatever you do in your 2 hours of deep work with your children? Are you spending time with them? You're gonna die someday. And that presence of death is going to give you reality check. We don't have all the times in our life. And I know this may sound like, oh yeah, yada 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 yada, we need to produce. Yes, I produce a lot, and I've been producing the last 3 years more than in my whole life, because I am happy to do it. So that's why in my presentation, what you're gonna get is some keys to make you think about what do you really need. Because if you know yourself and you know what you can do, then you're gonna have a plethora of methods that can help you. But you need to be aware of what you are before you search for that. Because if not, you're going to be a serial productivity hacker. Not even that, a serial user of productivity hacks, and you are going to hope that they resolve your problem. No, your problem is within yourself. If you resolve that first, and you know that, and this is one key thing that I want to tell you before we go back to Julie, and is Yuval Noah Harari in the well-known book *Sapiens* states something that is very important for us to understand. We evolve through culture, not biology. So if we are looking for answers about how we work internally, we have to go back to the caveman times. And we need to know our machine. We know our apps, we know everything about computers, but we don't know how water change our day. If you're not hydrated, you're not gonna work. That's it. And Jim mentioned that also. So that's the thing, right? We need to know our machine first, and we don't get to differentiate mind and body. That's a lie. It's everything working together at the same time. And I say now back to you, Yuli.
and thank you both, because I think what you gave us exactly, when you go to the movie theater, when you remember going to the movie theater, when you're watching YouTube and a movie trailer comes up, your decision about whether you're going to go to that movie is almost entirely based on how you feel, and what you appreciate and what resonates with you from that trailer. So yay, 2 thumbs up for both of your movies. Going back to you for a second, Olga. I wish Mike Vardy were here, because he's all about superheroes and origin stories. And I kind of want to know, what was your origin story? I've heard all of these things that you did, but this concept of happily productive, what led you very specifically? What happened? What made that light bulb go off for you, where you said, okay, where's that concept of where happily productive came from in that moment, that magic moment?
Well, it's a sad story, but with a happy ending. So that's good. So when I was 15 years, I tried to commit suicide for the first time. So I've been dealing with suicidal thoughts and depression and anxiety my whole life. But I'm a Latina, and in the Latino community, you have to be in the closet if you are, depressed. So I was in the closet for being depressed and for being gay. So it was, I was in myself. I was happy. If you see me, I was always smiling. I was successful. I was the best in sports. I was very intelligent, and I get to all the colleges and all that. But I was trying to die and kill myself. So my last mental health crisis was in 2016. In my country, things were crazy, and I was very involved with that. I was in Canada at that time, so seeing that from afar was destructive for me. Then being an immigrant is very long, and it's like I felt very alone here, even when things went extremely good here. I have a wonderful job at Expedia. I have a loving wife. I have a good apartment. I have a loving dog. My life was wonderful, and I wanted to die. And I want to, in the mornings, when you're depressed, the thing is that in the morning, you don't find a reason to get up of the bed, right? So that's why when I had this crisis, I had to take medication and all that. And I said to me, I need more time to write, because writing is going to save me, because I need more time to be, outside all these things and connect with myself. And I look for productivity, right? And I look for productivity, and it was the same thing again and again, like, doesn't work, it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Because the thing is that if you don't know yourself, and if you don't know that work within you, and really find a reason to get up of the bed, and get to your life every day with a real smile, nothing is going to make sense. So you can put a bazillion of calendars, and that's it. So I want to be happily productive, because happiness is not a concept that lives in the Olympus or in the clouds. It's a concept that you have to live every day with everything you do. There is going to be shitty days, of course. And I get depressed sometimes, and I get sad. That is not the thing. But I have a reason to live now. And that's the game changer for me.
Well, Olga, on behalf of everybody attending here today, and Jim, and the people coming in through the All Access Pass, I want to thank you for your vulnerability. I think a lot of times within productivity in general, we talk about the work, we talk about the demands, but we don't necessarily talk about how we feel in our own experiences. So thank you for that. Jim, I know that it's hard to follow something that deeply personal, but you didn't just show up in 7th grade thinking, oh well, I can't wait till GTD comes along, and I'm waiting for OneNote. What was your origin story as far as coming to the concepts that, was there something that finally brought the light bulb, turned the light bulb on for you, as far as getting from whatever demands there were on your professional life and the rest of your life to be able to say, control, I'm gonna control my day, and you can control your day.
No, thanks. And yeah, Olga, I can't compete with what you just talked about, but at a much more surface level. No, I think honestly it goes all the way back to like high school for me, and the fact that in that time I really had no idea what I wanted to do. I had I did not enjoy school. I did not enjoy learning or anything like that. Like I just had a completely different mindset. And then as I came out of that, I started getting into the technology side of things, and I went to school for computer programming, and realized that I needed systems and processes to be able to take in all of this information and be able to use it to pass tests, use it to understand what I was going to be doing, and it was almost like a light switch went on that like, first off, that I loved doing this stuff now that I realized I could. And it's funny too, like, when I would go all the way back into school, just like, technology was really just getting started, then computers and those kind of things, and I didn't have any interest. But then all of a sudden I realized how I could apply it, and that gave me a lot of interest. So once I started seeing like, oh my gosh, I can like make things faster, or, improve somebody's life with technology, by writing this program, or, creating this application, I saw like just, huge rewards in that personally. And so that kind of started me on my journey. And I honestly, I think I've got ADD or something like that, never been diagnosed or anything, but like, if I don't have lists in front of me, if I don't have processes, then things fall off the rails really, really quickly. And so that's really, that's kind of been it for me, was recognizing that I needed to have, those processes in place to be successful. And I've always been like a workaholic and passionate about the work that I'm doing. And so, when I see somebody struggling, and that's really where Control Your Day started to come from, was, I had created this process for myself, and then I'd see other people struggling, and I was like, I can help you, right? And so I came back and wrote the book, sharing that. And one quick story I remember, I was working on the book, and I had the first version of it done, a rough draft of it, and I was on a flight out to LA, and sitting next to me, a lady with her laptop open, and she's in email, and she leans over to me and she's like, "How do you manage your inbox?" And I'm like, "We have 3 or 4 hours. Let me show you." And I took her through the whole process and basically reconstructed how she managed email and Outlook. And she actually came back and edited my entire book for me after that. She went through the whole thing and just cleaned it all up, made it look pretty, and then spread the word about Control Your Day across her organization. So that's really what's kind of driven me now, is more about, like, can I help other people that are struggling with staying organized, right? Because there are things that you can do that will make your life easier. And to Olga's point earlier too, it is so true. It's all about that, the happiness, right? And like, are you doing things like I looked at that last year, kind of reworking my vision with the Goal Changer formula, and realized, like, I'm an avid mountain biker, and that was part of my vision, was like, I want to be the best I can be at mountain biking. So I need to focus time on that, right? So I need to figure out how to be more organized so I can get my work done, manage my family, do all those kind of things, but spend time on my mountain biking. So yeah, to Olga's point, you have to figure out what makes you happy, and then you have to figure out a balance. Like, you can't just do just what makes you happy. Some people can, right? They're lucky enough. But in most cases, I think you can find a way in your journey and your work to make yourself happy, to enjoy doing that. Like, in the supply chain systems that we do, every one of them is, when we walk in, there's things we have to fix, there's chaos. And I love that. I love solving problems like that. And so, for me, that's my passion. And you just have to find what that passion is for you.
I love that, Jim. Thank you. So, as I said, I watched both of your sessions very carefully, and from that high level view, somebody wouldn't think that the two of you have all that much in common. I mean, Olga's presentation comes from a very Buddhist perspective, and she talks about self-compassion, and I mean, both of you are talking about some of the key issues in task management, prioritizing and time blocking and things. But what really caught my attention was the fact that Jim has 4 parts to his presentation. 2 are tech tools, Outlook and OneNote, and 2 are strategic philosophies, getting things done, the whole GTD, and then this Rory Prendergast game changer formula. The thing that really struck me about what both of you had to say was that you approach one thing from a pretty analog perspective. For Jim, that was the mindset manual. You're embracing the journal. It's not a bullet journal, but it's it's kind of like the Bujo from the airplane level. And the 6th step of the 7 approaches that Olga has for sort of achieving your productivity is also journaling. So I would love to hear how both of you use your journals, whether, when you journal in the day. Basically, this is your free form moment in our Q&A. I want to know how you journal, and we got to see a tiny peek into what Jim journals, but for people who haven't seen it yet, I'd like you both to talk about that. And Olga, why don't you start?
Like, for me, it was very hard to keep a journal. Like, I'm not a journal person, and for me it was hell. So what happened with me was, due to the mental health crisis. And one thing that I discovered is that I enjoy to do journaling with my partner. So that was a big change for me, because it was a way to know another person by knowing yourself. And that is your partner, right? You are a team, and you can do it maybe with your children or whatever, whoever is forming a team with you. Even I think about, ooh, we lost Jim. He's gonna come back. I know. So you can think about that even in a business place. Why not? Right? So journaling can be, something very intimate, but I started with a partner, like accountability partner, but also a journey partner. So that's one thing. The other thing is that for me, journaling is the way that I get in touch with my own narrative, right? So I use journaling daily, but in a crisis or when I know I'm in a, I'm about to fall, or I'm about to, something is gonna get unbalanced in me, I go to my journal and try to put things together. And remember that writing is put order here. It's not the same thing that you go to your streaming of conscious, that you write that down. So that's the power for me of journaling. So it's an instrument that I use constantly to understand myself. Of course, if you have a structure, for example, what I did, what I was very disconnected with life, was like an observation journal. So I select one smell of the day, one color of the day, one taste of the day, one texture of the day, because that is one of the things when you do meditation. I am very bad at meditation. That's one thing. So I do like active meditation. So what I actually, I said that in the video, and it's when I'm cutting a tomato, I am trying to connect with that moment, the tomato, the movement of my hand and all that. And that for me is meditation, right? So one of the other things is that when you're meditating, you are trying to, is one of the ways you can connect with your surroundings and trying to get in touch with that. So for me, that goes to the journal. And as I am a writer, that gives me material for my stories too. So that's kind of it's not very organized, I know, but it's like a day-to-day thing that changes a lot.
And Jim, I know you popped out, but I don't think
I'm back
I
in.
think she was still talking about the journaling with others. So we're up to you with journaling and your approach in general with, and we got to see those who have already seen your pre-recorded session or who will be seeing it. We actually get a sneak peek into a day of your life. But if you could talk about how you use the mindset manual and that journaling approach.
Sure, absolutely. So really a couple of parts. So first off, again, I'm up more at the surface than Olga is. She's much deeper than I am. But for me, there's two areas that I find valuable. One is that I have a goal book or journal, right? And so I'm in there really, with my annual goals, right? And it's not a book that's designed to like break out your quarters and your weeks and all that kind of stuff. It's really something that I create. At the beginning of the year, I kind of define these things that I want to accomplish. And then, once or twice back throughout the year, I'll come back to it and write down the things that I have accomplished or the goals that I've achieved. And I would stress to everyone out there that it's an amazing thing to do, because I go back, I've been doing that for probably 15 years. And when I go back and look at some of the things that my goals were 15 years ago compared to today, they're very different, right? And one of them is I want to drive a race car, and that's still on my list. But no, and like some of them were time-based, like, getting my older son into a college and, paying for his college and doing those kind of things. And as you progress through your life, you see these different things that are important to you. And I think having that, like, one book, and, it's a nice quality journal, right? So it's not just some notebook or something, that you can just keep what's happening on an annual basis and look over a period of time is really, really valuable. To go back through. And then on the daily journal, and that's from Rory's, the Game Changer formula, there's two things that he suggests in his book. And one is to create this manual, and you go through like these 10 steps, and they're things like thinking about, your daily plan, hydration, proper eating, exercise, your kind of gratitude or daily check-in. And so he goes through this list of things that you kind of just read through this checklist. And then, you write down these affirmations, and he gives you a whole bunch you can choose from. But like, and I read them each day. And so like, one of my, is, why is it that I love knowing I'm stronger than I think I am, right? And so sometimes when I'm working out, like, and I'm like, I'm stronger than I think I am. Or if I'm in some difficult situation, I'm stronger than I think I am, right? And then as you get into the daily journal, again, one of the things that Rory suggests is that you define your roles. right? And so that really helped me to define, like, what are my roles in life, right? Like, first off, self. And that's the thing that, you know, a lot of people don't think about, right? Like they worry about other people around them and not themselves, right? I probably worry about myself too much. If you ask my wife, she'll say it's all about Jim. But you do have to do that, right? And so you have self, and then I have like husband, partner, you know, father, brother, son. And so what I'll do in the journal is I'll look through those roles, and I'll just write down one or two of them for the day. And so then I'll, you know, like something like, hey, I'll call my mom today, right? So that's, you know, being a good son. And so that's that role that I'm going to address. So it's not just in my task list. And, you know, I have my to-do list of the day of, hey, here's the things I want to get done. Here's my priorities for the day. Here's my, you know, 10 out of 10 weeks. So here's the 4 or 5 things I've decided I need to accomplish this week. And I'm going to write those down each time. But, you know, those kind of roles allow you to recognize that that's important, right? And it doesn't seem like it when you're in your task list trying to fire stuff through all day. But it really is important to stop and make that phone call, right? Or spend a little bit of time with your son or your daughter or, you know, your friend, or those kind of things. So that's where I find like the daily journal really helps me to just kind of bring it in a little bit. And then to be able to go back and review it through the week and see how I did, right? Because that's another big challenge. Like, you can be super productive, but if you don't have some way of rewarding yourself, of seeing the value of what you're doing, then you can spin out of control very, very quickly, right? So like, you know, seeing that recognition, and Olga mentioned it too around accountability partners. I have an accountability partner. You know, we send our kind of list for the week to each other on Mondays, and then we have a quick call on Fridays. That has been so valuable. I just started that a month or two ago. And, you know, it forces me to be like, okay, I'm going to have this call with this person. I got to get these things done, right? Or I have to have a good excuse why I didn't get them done. So, you know, that's just another recommendation. I think finding a good accountability partner to work with is really valuable.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more about that. I just wrote a blog post last week about the 5 different approaches to accountability, because I think we're all so good, and we have trained ourselves to be so good at ignoring our own needs to be available to other people. And the great thing about accountability is it externalizes. So I want to do this thing. I want to write this book for me. I want to work out for me. But we're really bad about fulfilling our obligations to ourselves. So the minute we have an accountability buddy, it's like having that angel and devil on our shoulder, somebody to help us externalize our obligations to ourselves. So yay for raising that. So now we come into our lightning round. Okay. We talked about, you know, we know Jim uses OneNote and Outlook. And so we talked a little bit about the analog aspect of the journal, but I want to know, what tech can't you live without? Each one of you. So Jim, why don't we go back to you? Other than the 2 tools that you really talk about with Outlook and OneNote, what is your essential tech for making sure that you have not just control over your day, but control over your life? What tech do you really need in your life?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, those tools are super valuable to me. I think it's really just for me now, where I am in my life, it's more about my vision of things that I want to do still. And so that's not tech necessarily, but it's kind of having that document to work off of. From a tech standpoint, it's probably more around my workouts right now. So things like Strava and Training Peaks, the tools that I use to you know, kind of analyze my workouts and see how I'm doing, see how I'm growing. Those are super valuable. So yeah, from a tech side, it's Outlook and OneNote, and it's some of those workout tools.
Olga? Paper notebooks. Okay.
Nice.
So I have, I'm a junkie. I know. And yes, it's, you know, the connection that you have with your hand is irreplaceable. So I start my ideas there, and I go to Notion. That's my knowledge base. I really like that. When I have to manage things with another people, which is not that frequent, is Trello. I really like Trello, and now they have some things new, interesting. So let's see how that goes. And Miro, I don't know how to pronounce it. Is Miro? Miro is the, yeah, that's the one. So it's for my, when I'm trying to think about things, or actually working with clients, so they can see the day and they can see all the things that they are doing, and they can perceive that in colors. And talking about that,
Is it like mind
of
mapping?
course, colors, a lot of colors.
I'm sure Ray
Yeah, no,
Ray
it's
can
more
put it-
than mind mapping. You can do mind mapping, you can do post-its, you can do canvas, you can there is a very, very active community that create a lot of templates for you based on whatever you can imagine. So my workflow is like that, is I love you, that's it. So it's pen and paper, it's Miro, is Notion. I have all the things that are important for me that I get from email, and all that is in Notion. If it's not in Notion, it's not important enough. So that's my workflow.
Well, as I said in the beginning, I use a paper planner, but I live in the digital realm. I actually know Ray originally from a million years ago, because we trained together to be Evernote certified consultants. But and my blog is called Paper Doll. So I have a passion for paper, but digital can. It's sort of like you're not a complete person until you have blended the two. I agree with you that you can put your heart a little more into something as you write it. Nobody is, I said, people have been putting love letters under their pillows for years. Nobody has ever put a text under their pillow. It just doesn't happen. Jim's presentation talked about 10 essential elements, that 10 out of 10 that's part of that framework. And I think that it very much blends with what you were talking about, Olga, regarding the areas in which you can give compassion to yourself. I think if you don't know yourself, if you don't take note of all of these different elements of your life, like we keep coming back to hydration because we've all been talking on screen. So what I'd like to know is, Jim, if I don't know if you can rattle off all of the different 10 elements. I don't want to put you under the gun, but maybe a little bit of that, and then tell us what's the hardest one for you to accomplish, because I think we all have. Again, we're going to go back to that vulnerability with Olga. We're at the end of this, so go ahead. Tell us as much as you can about the 10 essential elements and where's your sticking.
Sure. So the 10 steps from Rory's book. So reading the manual is the first one, right? So it's this manual that he helps you create. Practicing stillness or meditation, which Olga talked about. Imagination, daily review. So, what did I do? Movement, daily check-in, right? Or I added to that gratitude. So I kind of, rather than checking in with an accountability partner every day, I kind of try to look at, like, what am I grateful for, right? And fueling, right? Hydration, right? Critical components, planning for the next day, and then getting 8 hours of sleep. And so I go to bed really early, I get up really early. And honestly, the one that I have the most challenge with, and I really don't do, is imagination. I really struggle with that, like trying to think about like my vision and where I want to be and imagining that. I struggle with that. So yeah, that's the hardest one for me. The meditation or the stillness can be challenging at times as well.
And Olga?
I would say you won't believe it, but also imagination, because I don't want to see myself in 10 years or 5 years. All the things about smart walls and all that doesn't work now. So I changed that to be present in my present. So I don't know what is going to happen next. Of course, I have things that I want to do. I'm not like, oh yeah, under the tree and meditating all day, of course. And I have to pay the rent and the internet and all that. But if I am able to be present in my present, I can live, a balanced life without all the troubles that comes from a mental health issue. So that for me is the important thing here. And another thing that I wanted to say quickly is that it's so important that every one of us find our rituals, the things that are the baseline that we can hold on to when things get messy. Because as Forrest Gump stated, shit happens. So we need to have like a baseline when we can, go to, and that for me is the perfect productivity system. It's like a lifesaver, something like that.
Yeah, Olga, that's a really good point. It is, and sometimes you'll fall off the rails on those systems, right? Like, I'll have a day where it's just like, I didn't do my book, right? I fell apart for that day, and I'll come back the next day. So it's important to understand that, if you fall off the horse, you get back on and you restart the next day. You don't give up and be like, oh, this isn't working, right? Like,
and that's compassion. And that's compassion. You have to be compassionate with yourself, because you're compassionate with another person. Why are you not with you? So that's what I understood this year. It's recent. It's something like it's obvious, but it's like we don't think about that.
I love how we're being so honest. So this is sort of a step back and then a step forward. We're kind of like going to do a little waltz here. In Olga's presentation, she talked about productivity being like an investment portfolio. You decide where, when, and with whom you're going to invest your time, your energy. And if Mike Vardy were here, he'd be so excited to hear us say the third part, attention. So you're investing your time, your energy, your attention. And as a multi-potentialite, for you, Olga, you're definitely not linear. So with so many simultaneous interests and projects, is it hard for you to identify what you're going to keep in your portfolio, what you're going to keep investing in actively versus using, for those of you who are into finances, there are DRIPs, they're direct reinvestment plans, where the dividends just keep getting reinvested, but you don't keep necessarily putting more money in. How, with all of these different points on your road, how are you determining where you're going to invest?
And this is the time when my engineering self comes to this table. So what happened is that every now and then, it could be yearly, it doesn't matter. It's, when I feel it's necessary, I do a process that I call my constellation. It's like I define my North Star value. For example, the actual one is making a difference. So after that, I define my guide, like my North Star value, what I want to do and what I am. I write from 7 to 10 ideals. That is ideal behaviors that I want to always do, because it's the things that make me myself and also give me pleasure, right? So I know that if a project doesn't meet that criteria, to the portfolio, and it can be applied from the smallest item, like go to a walk with a friend, until whatever you want in life. Because if you don't meet that criteria, it's not for me.
Jim, same thing. What's in your investment portfolio for all of those elements, for your time, your energy, your attention? What's going in there? How are you deciding what are those top priorities? What's getting the most investment? What's going on autopilot with the dividend reinvestment?
Yeah, it's interesting because I definitely kind of reshaped that a bit last year as I'd worked with the author of that book, Rory, to kind of help set my vision. And what I discovered before that was that I was like kind of chasing squirrels, right? So it was like something shiny would come along and I'd be like, oh, let me go do that for a while, right? And I have my full-time job, which is fantastic. I love what I do. but I was able to kind of slice things up a bit more. But I was doing a lot of little things, but nothing amazing, right? And so like I kind of decided, I want to put my full attention into what I do at work, but not only, which I've always done, delivering at a high level, but trying to figure out, can I help other people, within the organization, and act as a mentor, with folks. And then same thing on the mountain bike training, right? Like, I was doing it, riding with a team and, riding all the time, but I wasn't really putting enough focus to kind of get to the next level with it, right? And so I think that's what I've come out of that, is that you only have a finite amount of hours. You really do have to decide, how do you want to spend those hours, right? And so and I struggle with it all the time, and I screw up all the time, right? But when you try to make a moment important, that's valuable. And like my habit in the past was always like, okay, how quickly can we get through this? Or, how do we get to the finish line, instead of enjoying the path to the finish line, right? And so I'm trying to work on that every day. So I think it's similar to what I always said, right? Like, you really need to think about what's important to you, and start to push away the things that aren't, right? Because it's so easy to fill your day. Like, the whirlwind of life can take over, and you can just head in whatever direction that whirlwind takes you. And that, it's up to you to decide, no, I'm not going to let the whirlwind take me. I'm going to decide where I want to go.
This conversation. Okay, I haven't seen any questions in the chat, and that's okay, because we did, I think it's the end of the day and people are having a great conversation in there. But if you do have any questions, please put that in. I did want to ask, do either of you have any questions? I don't know. I believe Jim may have been traveling, so I don't know if he had a chance to see your presentation yet, Olga, and I know you did get to see Jim. So I'm wondering, do you have questions or comments to one another? Anything that you found compelling or confusing or intriguing about the other's either presentation in the pre-recorded sessions, or something that one of you said today?
Go, Jim, or I don't know if
Olga, your mic is on, so why don't you start?
Okay. Yeah. I really like what I think about GTD, or the power of habits. That are, the two classics that everyone refers to, is that they did the base work, right? But the thing that really struck me is how we can change that, understanding that human beings are a whole spectrum of things. So I'm never going to be able to say that a system is bad or good, right? You have to find something for you. And I love what Jim said about, I don't know if I suffer from ADD. Actually, multipotentialites are in, the borderline with that and all that. And having that structure, when you detect that is your lifesaver, it's like, it's a game changer. So when you detect that without that structure, you cannot go on. And another question for you would be, like, how do you approach someone that is very different from you and try to accommodate that system for them? We can. I think you're on mute.
We almost got through the entire session without saying you're muted. Hopefully he'll be able to keep your questions in his head while he is working on his microphone.
And actually, let me remember those.
Jim, if it won't let you reset your mic, sometimes if you change your microphone and then change it back, so if you have two different mic inputs, just to let you all know, even though the counter at the top says, at least I'm seeing the counter saying that we have a little under 2 minutes, Francis did ask me to take us all the way up until 6, so we really have 5 minutes rather than 2. and we can spend 2 minutes getting Jim back on.
And refresh. Francis is telling us that maybe refresh the browser could help.
Yeah,
Right.
Jim, try while you refresh your browser. We've got those 2 questions, and he'll be back.
And I'm going to give you 3 minutes, Julie, because
Okay.
we have a hard stop. The countdown is actually it's going to take us to 6, but at 6 it cuts us right off.
Right. I have 2 countdowns on my screen. I have one that says 1 minute and 9 seconds on the right side, and one that says 3 minutes and 30 seconds on the left side, because it's an adventure.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, hopefully we'll see Jim. Okay. Well, Olga, I have to say, for anybody who hasn't seen either or both of your presentations, I strongly urge you to click over and look. Since Jim's presentation was in yesterday's, I'm not sure how much longer that will still be available for the people who don't have the All Access Pass. Yours went live somewhere in the wee hours. Okay, Jim, we have like, if you could answer both of her questions in a minute, super fast.
So you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. I don't even remember where they were, but no, just so from the standpoint of the systems, as you get more and more involved, like you have more demand, that's when the systems become critically important. And, just to kind of go back on Olga's presentation and content, I think that's where like the depth of the human factor of it is so important. And like, I tend to just focus on the tactical process. And so I can learn so much from Olga's.
We need each other. That's the thing. We are not against each other. We complement each other. And when we understand that and form a tribe, there is nothing that can stop us.
Agreed. Yep.
Yeah.
Great. And sorry about the mic.
That's okay. We have to wrap up. So I'm just going to say, Linda asked how your daily journal page interacts with your digital task manager and what goes on the page as opposed to the task manager. If you can do that in 15 seconds. Otherwise, I think your presentation kind of covered what you put on the page because we have to see your page.
Yeah, it does. But, so really the digital side, Outlook, is managing all of the demand, all of the work that's out there. And then I'm deciding what I want to put onto the paper to actually do that day. But I'm using the digital tool to manage all of that work.
Okay, and since we are down to pretty much the last minute, and Francis has popped up, going back to what I said at the beginning, we saw where the 2 of you diverge. We really got to see how much synthesis there is between the way the 2 of you approach. So I'd like to see in the chat, thumbs up or thumbs down, yes or no. Do you want to see the 2 of them team up to fight productivity crime? Okay, I mean, that I think that TV show would be really spiffy. So let us know. Okay, Francis, I think we can.
Thanks, guys.
I'd like to thank Olga and Jim. If really quickly, if you want to turn on your mics and say goodbye to the audience, since we are at the end.
Thank you. Very grateful to be here. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Francis, for the invitation, and very happy to come back.
And we will
see you
all next year.
Thank you.
You did a fantastic job today. Thank you. And Olga, you were great.
We're going to close in 10 seconds time, and we're going to refresh and come back in about 2 minutes. See you in a few. Okay, couple of technical start, guys. Second, get the lighting right. And Jim, if you go ahead and turn, I can just do it from my side. Okay. Okay, so if you're hearing me clearly, just put a note in the chat so that I know that my voice is carrying. Let's see. Guillermo says he enjoyed this one. I really enjoyed this one also. One that was just finished. Great. Okay, super fantastic. So, guys, welcome. I'll turn on the recording. Welcome to the closing session for the Task Management and Time Blocking Summit 2021. And we just came out of an amazing session led by Julie Bestry with Jim McCullen and Olga Colmenares. And really just moving, touching, and speaking to the humanity that we share. And that while we're here looking at the nuts and bolts, a lot of the nuts and bolts of productivity, that over the last few days, we really dug into, say, questions or issues that were of a transformational nature. And, well, so how? Let me go back to the question that brought us all together. How do you produce a transformation in the way you relate to your time, your tasks, and your calendar? And very quickly for tonight, what we're going to be looking at in our closing session is a quick recap of everything that happened over the last 3 days. We'll take some live shares. So I'll have you come up and join me on the stage and share with us some of the learnings that happened with you while you were here at the summit, some sharing. Then we'll talk about the re-entry into the real world once the summit is over and we no longer have the support of everyone that's with us. Then I'd like to give some thanks to people who worked really hard behind the scenes and in front of the scenes. And then finally, we'll close out with a networking session, an opportunity for us to talk with each other one-on-one, move around the room, the networking room, and say thank you and say goodbye and say, really, if we can, come from the heart as we're thanking people for their contribution. So recap. Best place to start with a recap is to talk about what just happened a while ago. And as I said, that particular conversation really, it touched me. And I think it got to some of the heart of, although we're here looking at calendars, time and tasks, what's beyond the nuts and bolts of those things is, I said humanity, but it's our humanness. And that really came out in the very last Q&A. And the transformation that we're about is really more than about the nuts and bolts. And whether you use an auto scheduler or a Google Calendar or a fancy new app or any of these things, I think we got really inspired by the Condution team this morning, the high schoolers. Their pure belief in what they're doing and their willingness to do it just to help people. Boy, really inspiring. And I think we can draw from that inspiration and, ultimately leave here with a different conviction around what it means for us to accomplish what's most important to us. And that's not just goals. It's also living a balanced life. It's also living being a loving kind of human being, being someone who's generous, someone who's kind, according to Graham, being someone who's happy, according to Olga. Having many of the attributes in addition to being nuts and bolts productive, but allowing that productivity to feed who we are. So if there's any way to recap all that was said over the last 3 days with 30-something speakers and 10, 15 Q&As, it's that, yes, we're looking at the nuts and bolts, but we're also looking at striking at something that's much deeper, because that's really what would produce a transformation. Not just changing an app. That's nice to do, but that wouldn't be transformational. So let's get some folks up here to share what they gained and what they got from being here at the summit. Terry, with a comment like that, let me see if I can bring you up. If you have a laptop or a PC, I can bring you up. If you can't, I can't bring you up because a smartphone won't allow you to actually come up and join me live. So I'm going to try some different folks and just see what happens. So Terry, you're my first guest. Terry. Let's see if I can get you up here.
Okay.
Hi, Terry.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I sure can.
Okay.
Sure can. So the question on the floor at the moment is, what did you gain from the event? What are you walking away with? What insights?
Well, sadly, I've only been able to participate in maybe not even an hour and a half to 2 hours because of my schedule, and finding out about this via an email that Susan Lasky sent out that I got about 5 o'clock yesterday, my time. I'm Central Time.
Wow.
So I had a Q&A. I had a little bit of a networking, so I got a chance to understand what the conference was because I never heard of it before ever. And I was really fascinated. I really liked Olga's shares, mostly what I heard today. I had to spend most of the day finding a new car because my car was totaled out 2 weeks ago. So we found something. We're pending on the sale. So I'm pretty excited about that. But I'm just trying to learn and understand more. And I know you have an opportunity to purchase this thing, but I'm trying to understand it enough to make a choice or not, because I'm on disability, so I don't have a paid job, but I help people all over the country and sometimes other places. But I've been very fascinated with what I've learned so far. And I personally struggle with attention deficit. So again, I was related to some of Olga's shares. She mentioned that as well. And I'm very heavily into the attention deficit community, add.org. There's a lot of stuff in there as well. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. There was a present. If you turn off your camera and your microphone, it would automatically. It should. Okay, great. There was a presentation on Monday from Sina Block. She's an ADHD specialist. Okay, I'm Avi. I think you're next. I'm bringing you up. What did you get from being here? Could you share what it was like? What nuggets are you taking away? Oh, Avi may be on a phone.
Hi, Francis.
If you're on a phone, this won't work as well.
Can you hear me?
I'm sorry, I meant Thursday, Judy.
Francis, can you hear me?
Here comes Avi. And if you know you'd like to share, like you have a burning share or something that you'd like to tell us, just put your hand up. And I think I can see your hands if you put your hands up. Oh, Avi, I think we're having some bandwidth issues. Not seeing you coming up.
Francis, can you hear me?
There we go. If you have any, yes, I can. If you have any trouble, just turn off your camera because we can still hear you. But
Good.
I can hear you and see you.
I think the summit was fantastic. The variety of speakers approached everything about time tracking and management from so many different angles. If I had to give two people that I have to acknowledge is Ami was just excellent in terms of her presentation earlier today. And I think that we ended up with Olga, who just was so open to the community and showed us how that it's about working from the inside out, using what's internal and then going to the tools. So many thanks to you and Dale for putting this on and doing all the work behind the scenes to make it a tremendous success.
Oh, thanks, Abby. I appreciate that. Thanks. It was an amazing moment when Olga shared what she went through, and it was all of a sudden I just felt like for me anyway, and maybe for all of us at the same time, because these things that we're working on, the reason that we're here, they actually do make a difference. They're not just a matter of using your calendar differently. Great. Thanks, Abby. Guys, I want to drop a link in this actually almost forgot a link in the chat. So this is let me just help you down, Avi. Here we go. I have some control over this. Okay, and then Terry. So I put together a guest book. So when you visit somewhere, you let the people know exactly what you really liked about the experience, so that when people come the next time, they can read the guest book and say, "Oh, look, they really like the waterfalls. They can go visit the waterfalls in Jamaica." That kind of thing. We put together a guest book, and here's the link to the guest book. Okay, I need to close some things down. I think my computer's going really slowly. Here we go. So this is a link to the guest book, and here's a picture of said guest book. And it's very simple. If you'd like to leave a comment that would let someone else know that you're telling them what the summit was about and why they should come next year, leave a comment. If you don't want to, don't leave a comment, but you can. And it could even be anonymous if you want to stay anonymous. There will be a formal survey, so I will be asking you in the next few days what exactly we should be improving about the summit. So this isn't the survey part of that. We need to structure questions, and there are issues that we want to ask you to dig into, but this is just a guest book, just for you to drop a note that says, here, if you're going to tell somebody else about the summit, here's what I would say. Okay, great. All right, so who'd like to come next? Was there a hand up that I saw? Yes, there's a Julie Bestry hand. Julie Bestry, you're coming up. So Julie, before you even start talking, I have to thank you for, and maybe I'll thank you on behalf of all of the presenters, or maybe I'll thank, well, you didn't present, but you moderated. So on behalf of the moderators, this is like the Olympics when you thank one athlete, but boy, so there's so much to be said for preparing as a moderator, and I can tell you that Julie prepared. I know she prepared because she had me preparing with her all the way throughout the last few days. But the way it paid off in that last session, Julie, I just want to thank you and acknowledge the work that you put in on behalf of all of the moderators who I kind of strong-armed a few to moderate, and some jumped in like Ray at the very last minute in an emergency situation. So on behalf of all of them, I want to thank you for the fine work and thanks for the amazing moments that we just had in the last hour.
Well, I just want to say, this was my second time because I was here last year too, more as an observer, and this year more of a participant. And I think it worked on multiple levels. So there were all sorts of sessions that I thought, okay, I'm going to use these processes, these strategies, these thoughts with my clients, with my organizing and productivity clients. So Nicole Shamblin's presentation, for example. Then there were things that hit me on a more personal level. That would be Renee Claire's and Olga's, certainly. The Conducian gentleman, all I could think was, I was going to say there's that song, "The Children Are Our Future," but these were gentlemen. They were poised, they were media savvy, they were not just cognitively prepared to do this, but they were full on ready to engage with us at our level. And I think that's going to be stellar for them. I think I said earlier today, they're going to get into whatever colleges they want to go to. So I really like, Remo had a lot of hiccups last year, which we seem to have powered through. So I love the networking opportunity. Because so many of the people who were presenting or moderating, I know through NAPO and through the productivity fields, it felt kind of like old home week for me, but there were so many people who were participating, so many attendees and so many new people. It was as close to going to a real conference, I think, if you showed up in the morning, you were here all day, you bopped around those little tables for networking. It gave us an experience that not only is rare in the conference realm, but particularly rare for us to have now that we've all been in our homes for 52 weeks, nonstop. So Francis, you and I think we want to thank all the people who came. We want to thank all of the people who presented. And if you did miss something, I encourage you to get the all access pass, because, I just, it wasn't Bridgerton, but I was binge watching just like with Netflix, all of the pre-recorded sessions. And I encourage you for both the entertainment value, because there were quite a few laughs and surprises among the presentations, as well as just the really incredible, professional but also personal material that was presented. I think a lot of other conferences might introduce you to technology or procedure. And this was, I think the word for the day is more holistic. We got to get a sense of life is complicated. It gets progressively more complicated no matter what's going on in the world, but in our own lives. And I feel like we got a little bit of a sense of both improvement, but also camaraderie out of these 3 days. And Francis, I want to thank you and Dale for all of the work that you do, that I don't even think the people who attend have any idea the immensity of it behind the scenes. So thank you to the sponsors, thank you to the attendees and the presenters, and thank you to you guys. And I will step off the stage.
Thank you, Julie. So Julie, you're presenting next year. That's a done deal. You must. Trevor's here. Trevor, so let me bring you up to thank you on behalf of the sponsors. And then maybe you can share what it was like for you, because you, of the sponsors that we've ever had, you've been the most involved sponsor and the most engaged sponsor. And you agreed to sponsor early on, which was, here comes Dale. I mean, I got to turn off the.
No, yeah.
Let me just plug out my. Hold on, folks. Let me just
Hang on. Sorry.
We have to get organized over here now.
Well, I'll say while you're doing that, I thoroughly enjoyed myself. The sessions were great. I learned a lot of stuff, and I've been kind of doing some of this for a while now. And met some great people. Networking has been awesome. I thoroughly enjoyed the networking and got direct feedback about my product from some customers, because some people tried it out. And like in some of the networking sessions, we talked about it, and I got excited last night and implemented one of the features. And so there was like just lots of, yeah. It was like, it wasn't too big, but I mean, I spent like 4 hours, I haven't been able to do any coding for the past couple of weeks. So like when they're like, oh, this is really bugging me and it's a small feature, and they're like, yeah, it's been on my list for a while. I really want it. I'm going to just do it. So I did it last night. No, it was up until like 1, which is
you're up all night.
And then I watched the season finale of WandaVision. So, but yeah, I mean, it was a 4-hour feature. I mean, I thought I was going to be able to do it in 2 hours, but we know how things go. Things take longer.
So on behalf of all of us who came for free, didn't pay an entrance fee, thanks to you and to Nosby, your company, they optimized and to Nosby for sponsoring the event, because as I said a couple times before, there's no way to make this event free unless there are sponsors who are willing to give of themselves and go into their pockets, guys, and help to underwrite the costs, because there are costs. While it's free, there are costs.
And
so
Trevor, you
so
went
much.
overboard. We've never had a sponsor who literally stayed with us the entire 3 days. You were the first person that logged on. I remember that morning when we started on Thursday, and here you are. So thank you so I'll always remember your hat. I mean, that is like your signature hat, you know, and thank you so much. You engaged people. You came onto the platform. I've seen you on the platform in and out all day. You've been on the Remo space.
Oh, you're
So
welcome. Yeah, I
from
mean,
the
I think
bottom of
like
my heart,
I mean, part of it goes
thank
back to that
you so
productivity.
much.
It's time blocking and
Honestly.
blocking off the time. And I've learned over the years is I don't do too many conferences. Like I used to try to go to a bunch of different conferences, but you don't have the time to integrate from those conferences and then actually execute from that. And so what I try to do is now do fewer conferences, but really block out time before the conference to prep, at the conference to be there, and then like after the conference to wrap up. So like Monday, I've set aside just to follow up for this conference. So like it's the fewer things but done better, I think, is one of the approaches.
Okay, great.
Excellent.
The fewer things but done better, I think, is one of the approaches.
Okay,
Right.
great.
Trevor, one of the funniest moments was when you asked, am I saying too much?
We're like, no, of course not. He kept repeating that over and over. And
am I jumping into it?
And we're like, no. He even
No.
said it in telegraph. You kept apologizing. And we're like, no, it's okay. It's a conference.
So if you're a participant, we have a Telegram group just for the speakers. And Trevor kept asking, am I dominating the conversation? Am I saying too much? No, it was awesome.
Great.
So thanks on behalf of the speakers and the sponsors. I'll include the speakers. Thanks, because Trevor had 2 videos as well.
Right.
And guys, if you're not a speaker at the conference, I'll just tell you that sitting in front of a computer for an hour, couple hours, 2 hours, 3 hours, however long it takes to do 2 videos, and then edit them, and then upload them, is a considerable personal.
And he got them into us early too. I had to go through every one of the videos, so I know exactly when videos came in.
Well, no, the deadline.
Everybody worked really hard. Trevor, you were early again, so kudos.
That was my deadline.
There's capital D deadline, and there's common D deadline, and there's deadline. There's some videos.
I'm
don't go there.
Trevor was great. Don't go there.
But I will say to everyone, like, I mean, like watching all the speakers, all the moderators, like everyone did such a great job. You know, I have like pages and pages of notes, and now of course I need to watch Ray's thing to learn how to use Evernote, so I can stop writing everything on pieces of paper. But still, I've got tons of notes written on all sorts of things, lots of learnings. And
Ray would agree.
Yeah. Thank you.
Fantastic. Great, Trevor. Thank you so much. Anyone else? We have time for another person. If anybody else wants to come, let's put up your hand if you'd like to come up, and anything that you learned or any nuggets that you're taking away that have not been covered, or anything that happened that really struck you. Anyone else?
You know, Ray and Augusto, you guys know every week when you do your productivity video, I often get in the way, and I try my best on a Monday morning after my walk to stay outside in my yard. So I usually do my gardening. So I don't do time blocking. I just kind of do my own thing. But I do time block that gardening every Monday morning to try to avoid getting in Francis's way. So I do apologize, but now I have a better understanding for what you guys do. And I'm going to leave it at that. Francis knows what I'm talking about.
Well, that takes me to a couple of big thank yous that I need to make.
Great.
One is to my partner and colleague, Dale, who behind the scenes puts up with a whole lot to make a summit like this happen and contributes a whole lot. So the 2 of us are on separate computers throughout the day, almost every minute of the day. Just the occasional moment we step away. Now and again, one of us is falling asleep because we're just that tired, but she's been with it the whole way through. And this is not her, as she said, not her area of expertise or interest, to be honest. But like a great soldier and a great companion, she stuck through it all the way from last year, all the way to this year.
And this morning, I have to admit, we got up to go for a walk this morning, and we're leaving at 5 o'clock. And he starts talking about next year's conference, and we're gonna do this. And I'm like, dude, it's not even 6 o'clock yet. We didn't even have our walk yet, and he's just going on. And I'm like, pipe it. I wanted to say, go talk to Ray. Leave me out of this, but I didn't. So, oh my God, okay, you guys. But we did it. We were up every morning at 4:30 on the computers because the British people were logging in early. So I would come down to my computer, and you didn't tell them. We had a power outage Thursday night after the first day, and he says to me, babes, power's gone. And I'm like, oh my God, we have a conference going on. We don't have a generator. So I'm like shaking bricks. I'm like, what's the backup? And then he says, well, Ray has the password, and Ray can do this. And I'm like, oh my God. But anyway, he called the people, and it turned out something, what blew up?
Transformer blew on our road.
And, luckily they came, because a lot of times in the Caribbean, they don't show up for 10, 12 hours. So we were saved. Thank you, God. Yeah.
She mentions Ray and Augusto. Those are the guys who I really depend on to bring off events like these. They both chipped in emergency situations at the last minute. So thanks to them. Also for their inspiration, because it was Ray's summit really that got me in the summit game a year and a half ago. And he was willing to show me the ropes on the inside. And that's the only reason that we're here today offering our own.
And we didn't thank Ami and Ami Rose. Ami, thank you so much for helping Francis. I hate to say it, I was the one saying, get Ami to help us as we're getting moderators. I'm sorry, Ami, I put you on the hot seat, but I'm like, okay, get Ami to do this one and get Augusto to do this one. And because we hosted another conference in September with another group we work with, another space we play in, and I'm more passionate about that space, Carib HR Forum people, and we had a lot. I think this year we had 500 people register for this conference. But that conference, we had over 1,350 people, and it was a bigger group, and 75 speakers, and it was all over the Caribbean, and we had never done that. So that took a lot of work and a lot of blood. So this felt a little bit more manageable. So Ami, thank you so much.
And guys, you may not know that Ami was one of the first coaches I ever had back in about 1994, 5, somewhere, no, 7, 8, 97, 98. And she's the one who taught me to lead programs, kind of like this one, where you're actually delivering a distinction in front of a group of people to make a difference. So thanks to me for her partnership going back.
And Julie, thanks again. Frank, remember Frank from last year. Frank, thank you so much. Thanks everybody for all your hard work, because we know you guys put in a lot of work. Olga, it was great meeting you. Francis told me he met you last year, and how that transpired. I didn't know that. So thank you so much.
Oh, and then behind the scenes, we had a help desk, as you know. That was an innovation that wasn't there last year. It made a huge difference this year. We hardly got any questions, which tells us that as soon as questions came up, they were handled. And Andrew Dakers and Rajiv Grayson.
And we had
help from Tremaine.
Right. So
Tremaine's last name. Tremaine Campbell.
Two of our help desk people are people who actually belong to another space we're in. We told them we were doing it. Would you guys love to help? And they jumped on board because they're very familiar with the platforms and Remo and everything, because we have webinars and so forth for them. And Ami presented to that group, and so did Ray. So we may tap in to a few of you if you're interested and you want to do some work in another space. When I start recruiting, we'll come to you and see if you're interested, because it exposes you to people all up and down the Caribbean. So there's, I don't know how many different islands, but the small populations up and down, but they're all on Remo, and they know about the platforms, and they're very curious about what's going on in other spaces. So
yeah, if you're interested in speaking at next year's conference, just
let us know.
There's a list that I have that I go through, and you just let me know.
Which conference? I told you I said to Francis, let's do this once every 2 years.
All right. So last thing before we go into networking session, remember to drop a comment if you would like in the chat. Sorry, not the chat. In the link that I gave you in the chat to the guest book. Again, this guest book, we'll use it to help other people know what the summit was all about and why they might want to come next year. I'm not able to click for some reason.
Something happened? Scroll down.
It's a little bit slow. Oh, here we go. I'm dropping that link again, and let's go into networking. And this will be our final networking session.
Who said that? Thanks, Linda. We saw that.
Thanks, Linda. And in the networking session, I want you to make sure that you go around to everyone that you can who session that you attended or downloadable that you heard. Remember, the downloads for today are available through midday tomorrow.
36 hours.
So go ahead and fill out that guest book if you'd like. And here's a heads up. We may have a bonus day on Wednesday. So bonus day Wednesday is an opportunity to listen to the pre-recordings one last time. So we've got some emails, people asking, can I listen to one pre-recording, one here, one there? So this kind of takes care of everybody, including those who couldn't attend. So if you know some folks who wanted to come, Wednesday, we'll have the pre-recordings up and we'll have a...
Was that Tracy who came in late?
And we may even have a closing session.
What was that? The woman, her name was Tracy?
Terry.
Terry might want to listen to that on Wednesday. They'll be up. Is she still here with us? Terry, if you're still here with us,
she's saying yes.
It'll be up all day Wednesday. From what time in the morning we're going to put it up? Okay, we're not sure what time yet, but and join the platform. I think you just joined. I think I just saw your name pop up, but make sure you join the Mighty Network Taskers platform.
She
yes,
says you did.
And I'll make sure I get make sure you get what you need. Any questions, like I said, take it on the platform, and I monitor that all the time.
All right, Terry says she's busy Wednesday.
Okay.
May not be able to make it.
No problem.
All right, guys, so let's go into our final networking session. Let's say everything that you want to say, thank, acknowledge, request. As I said, there's going to be the survey that's coming out. You can access the guest book from inside networking session. Just go into the chat. And this is Francis and Dale signing off.
Thank you. Yep, signing up. I told him to play some music for you guys, but he didn't do it. So, okay, whatever.
I kind of forgot.
We played music for the Caribbean people. They loved it. Thank you.
I forgot about the music, actually.
You're welcome. Okay, so we're signing out.
Take care. All the best, guys.
Bye.
Off the recording. And hold on, we're going to go into networking mode.
You're welcome, everybody. Great,
let's
Jim.
meet and talk.
I used to mountain bike down in West Virginia, Jim, so I know you're a mountain biker. I used to mountain bike down in Canadian Valley before I followed the Jamaican.
All right, guys. With that.